Take 2.
Why did we stop the first time?
You see this energy? That's the same energy I had the first time. I'm trying to bring it up.
This is exhausted energy. I am dog tired.
Do everything without
About gumbling? Right. Take 3, please. Wait, no, don't stop it for real. Okay, how would you describe Friendsgiving in one word?
I think full is a good word.
Full?
Yeah, it was
Why
a full
full?
room.
Oh.
I did not have a full stomach. It was full of fun. It was, I think, full of the spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And overall, just a good time.
Why didn't you eat? Why were you not full from food? We had a lot of food. People took food home.
Yeah. Because I had to give up my seat.
Did you give up your seat?
Yeah.
Oh, what a servant.
I was trying to save a seat for his mama.
Oh, she told me that I was there when you told her that you was waiting outside for her in the freezing cold. It was cold that night.
It was cold, yeah. And his cousin has been coming, Chrislyn, and she was like, I'm about to go outside and get she called her Nanny Mello, right? Mm-hmm. I'm about to go get my Nanny Mello. And I was like, okay, bet. So I was waiting at the door talking to Tyrone, which is fine. Hey, Tyrone. And I was just like, wow, it's really cold. I was like, they must have parked like at PJ's. Like, what is going on? They're taking so long. Well, come to find out, they entered through the side door, so I just missed them. And then I was talking to my sister, who also came in just for Friendsgiving, and she was like, yeah, she's at the table. And I was like, what? And so then I had to go give her a piece of my mind, which was, you could have said, hey, you could have come in the front doors.
That's funny.
But she seemed to have a good time too. She loved that $100.
Oh yeah, but she did give it back to me. She did. I told her. She was like, "Do you really want me to give it back to you?" I said, "It's the only reason why I asked you to come up there, because I knew you were gonna give it back to me." She was a little reluctant at first, but she caved in.
She said it was for the church.
Yeah, it was for the church. Somebody donated it to Friendsgiving, and I thought it'd be better that the money go to something more than just my mama's pocket, respectfully. So anyway, now this is your second Friendsgiving.
Yeah, I was talking to Katie about it, and I thought for sure I had been to a third one, but I guess I just remember you talking about it because this is only my second one.
Yeah, I remember us talking about it, but we were still long distance, and I think you watched it on TV.
I don't think we streamed Friendsgiving.
We didn't?
I don't think so. I don't remember.
We didn't stream this one.
Then it was, I don't think you did the last time either.
Oh.
The last couple times.
Maybe
because I remember missing it.
Uh-huh.
Well, no, last year I was here. I came to visit. Mm-hmm. But the time before that, Bailey maybe was telling me that it was Price is Right. And I was like, oh, I have no recollection.
Yeah. It was The Price is Right 2 years ago. And last year was Family Feud. And Steve Harvey came from L.A. And then this year, we didn't have a celebrity host, but it was cool.
How did you feel not hosting this year?
Oh, great. I feel like I wasn't hosting, but I was like, I thought because I wasn't hosting, I would just be sitting in the back, just hanging out, waiting for my turn to preach.
LOL.
But I was game managing, making sure things were running smooth and stuff. But it was great. Oh, the MCs did a great job.
They did.
Bro, they so funny. I was dying laughing, especially when
his
Tyler
mic didn't work.
out, his mic didn't work. It was just still funny.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
He said,
it was so funny. They both did a great job.
Yeah, they did.
Making people laugh and getting people involved and engaged. Did you play the games at the table?
No, I didn't end up at a table.
You were doing
and then
tickets.
I also had to do tickets, which the first game, so it seemed like for the table games, everybody was really good at like the first 2 games.
Yeah.
And so it was very overwhelming for somebody with tickets because I was like, oh my God, the whole room has their hands up.
Yeah, after the first game, I was like, oh, we don't have enough tickets.
I was like, oh my gosh. But I was, just handing them out, like whatever. And then once the marshmallow game hit, I was like, oh, it came to like a screeching halt. And I was like, honestly, I didn't see anybody stack more than 3 marshmallows on top of each other.
There was a few tables that won, but everybody said it was really
hard.
But we wanted it to get harder because we didn't want to just, we wanted people to win. So that was like the first 2 games would be easy and the second 2 games would be a little bit more difficult.
Yeah. But then somebody told me for that game, they were the ones handing out the tickets.
Oh, yeah.
And they walked around and they saw somebody stacking the marshmallows with their fingers instead of the chopsticks. And she had the tickets and she was like watching them to hand them to me if they won. But then the girl at the table saw that it was Bailey, that Bailey was watching her. So she just used her hands and just knocked it over. That's so funny.
That's hilarious.
That's so funny.
It was a lot of fun, though.
Yeah, it was. I enjoyed the table games and getting to see everybody in the room. They were. I also thought people would be a lot better. Was that the flip game onto the water?
I thought people would be terrible at that game.
Really?
Like I thought that was gonna be like the hardest game. But I knew. But look, Daniel's giving me a face. I knew that they was gonna win. Because when the instruction video was being played, everybody was like, ooh. It's like they went back to their BC days like, I know I can do this. I've been doing this my whole high school career. And I was like, bro, this is crazy. Well, and a lot of people won.
Look, my BC days were very PG. Like G even. And so I felt like I didn't get to try because I was still walking around. But I feel like that flipping water bottles was a thing. I know that wasn't the game, but also just like flipping cups was like really popular.
I don't know. Maybe
like not even like
it's a party game. Like it's not something
I wouldn't know
when you go to parties and stuff. I'd never partied either, but like I know it's a party game, and so it was just funny to hear people get excited about that game. Because like they get to relive those days, at least in church for a little bit. It was funny.
It was,
and they
fun.
won. It was cool. It was fun. They had a good time. So it was great. What did we do next after that? Oh, the testimony video was really good.
Yes,
it was really good.
Makai and Ruby both spoke very beautifully about their story.
A great job. It was cool because when I was playing and people was like, oh. And then like Ruby was like sitting in the front row. She was just like smiling, like just so happy that, you know, she was able to tell her story and people was obviously engaged and impacted by it. And then Makai, so funny, he was like, I don't fear anything no more besides bugs, of course. And then everybody started laughing. It was funny. It was cool. It was a cool video.
Wait, he for real is afraid of bugs? I guess
so.
If he lied about that on that video,
we didn't ask him to say that. He just said it. It was funny,
he's such a big guy.
Yeah, but
ain't no bug he can't kill.
Yeah, but I bet you couldn't tell him that.
Nah. A roach come at him, I'm running too.
What was the biggest difference you think from this Friendsgiving than the last one?
Oh, for sure the table games.
Oh, yeah. That was our first time doing table games ever.
Yeah.
The last few years.
So everybody was really engaged. So the room was louder. I don't remember worship being like that last year either, where like people ran into the front.
Yeah. I looked up and I'm like, oh.
I said, oh, they worship praising for real.
It was cool. Like when I was watching people worship from the front, I literally almost started crying. It was like a beautiful moment. It was really cool. And then even everybody everywhere. Oh, I don't think anybody saw this, or many people, maybe Dan, you saw it because you had the camera. But there was one girl, she came from a Kojic church or something. She had her head down. Her friend was holding her. She was shouting, and she was just going after it. And like she was crying, and then she eventually made it to her knees. And it was just like cool to see that God was doing work in so many people's life in a different way. There was somebody, I was standing up at the end of the night. Somebody was bowing down at the altar, just crying about it. Weeping by themselves and just like laying it all before the Lord. Like it was evident that God was really stirring in people's heart. And I think that's the one thing I'm most proud of and thankful for from our team, because we took a different approach. Like usually when you come to Friendsgiving, we do the worship and we do the message and then we go to do the games. But what we noticed is that the games usually like drowns out everything that we talked about in the sermon and the ministry stuff. And so we flipped it. So like we let people eat when they come in, do the game, and then you end the night with the worship and the message and giving people the opportunity to respond.
Yeah.
And I was super thankful for how our team decided to prioritize what we wanted to see God do in people's life rather than the fun experience that we wanted them to have. We wanted them to have both, but more than anything, we wanted them to walk away being impacted by Jesus.
Sure.
And I think that happened. Matter of fact, I would love to share this story.
Okay.
I haven't shared it to the leaders yet. I plan to do so. I might even share it on Sunday. I don't know. We'll see. But so there's this girl. Her name is Brenda. Brenda was the young adult leader before the BLOC ever became a thing. Like I'm the It was me. It's me and Pastor Stephen was before me. Before Pastor Stephen, it was Brenda. It wasn't called the BLOC when Brenda was meeting with the few young adults in the church who wanted to have Bible study in the back hallway of the church. And she tells me that like she would go clean up roaches and stuff before people even got there. Like
wouldn't have seen Makai there.
Facts. And so she tells me, I have the email to prove it. She told me when she left Friendsgiving, she walked out, looked up in the sky, and there was a shooting star that ran across the sky. And she said for her, it meant so much to her because she remembers being the days when she was just meeting with the young adults in the back hallway, and she believed that God was going to do something with the young adults that were in that room, in that ministry, and eventually God would do something to reach several hundred young adults, and it would be a diverse people, and they would all be worshiping God in spirit and in truth. And she said when she came to Friendsgiving, it was like the first time she really felt like the Lord answered that prayer in her life. Many, many, many years later, she got to like see it come to life in her own life. And she said when she walked outside, it was just like it all came back to her, and she felt like the Lord just reminded her of his faithfulness. And so I say that to say, like, you know, everybody that came to Friendsgiving enjoyed Friendsgiving. Everybody that comes to the BLOC, you know, for the most part, enjoy it. They are impacted by what God is doing. But like we stand on the shoulders of so many leaders and people who came before us, who love Jesus enough to be faithful to him through this ministry in the season that they were here. And I'm just super thankful for those people like Brenda, like Pastor Stephen, and so many of the leaders, Allie, Bree, man, the list goes on and on, Ari, Shanique, like so many people who have come before us. They put their time in and they transition to the next season of their life. And so it's cool to be a part of still, and it's also cool to look back on. And I'm sure that they are inspired by what God is doing here too. So that was one of the special stories that I heard from Friendsgiving that really just gave me life.
That is really sweet.
Yeah. What about you? Did you hear any stories from testimony stories from Friendsgiving? You looking at me like it's a no.
No, I haven't really been around too many since Friendsgiving.
Oh yeah, you went back to work 9 to 5. I have another one when I was standing in the foyer after service and like just greeting people on their way out. And this girl said, I used to come here a long time ago. And I have a kid now, all these things. And like, you know, I just felt like I really needed to be here tonight. So I just decided at the last minute that I was going to come. And she was like, you have no idea how healing it was to be here and be in the presence of God with so many other young people. And she was like, I just want to thank you for your faithfulness and what you do for the, you know, for the young adults, whatever. And just thank you for having a night like this because I really needed it. And that was just like awesome, sweet. You know? And so it was cool to just hear people, you know, people's testimony, people's story about what God did in their life. We had a spontaneous baptism.
Yeah.
You know, Zaid wasn't spontaneous. In fact, he decided that he was going to get baptized at our prayer night that we had the Friday, 2 Fridays before Friendsgiving. And, you know, he been coming to Life Group. He been with us since the summer. And so he was just really like, man, I'm ready to make that decision. You know, he repented from some things in his life and he was ready to go be fully committed to Jesus.
That's
and
nice.
So he got baptized on Friendsgiving. And there's this other guy, his name was Mac. I guess that's his nickname. He came up to a bunch of leaders apparently after service. I had like 4 people tell me, hey, somebody want to get baptized. And so like I talked with him about baptism real quick, and he basically just told me that I've been running from the Lord, and I know I've been running from him. And everything you said in your message about opening your heart to Jesus and letting him in, like he been knocking on my door. He been running me down, and I'm tired of living the way I'm living. So I'm just committing myself to him, and I've been around enough to know I need to get baptized. And so we baptized him.
That's awesome.
And so like, you know, that's only 3 stories of the many out there, I'm sure, that I haven't gotten a chance to hear of the things that God was doing in people's life that night. And my prayer is always that it won't just be a moment, but like it'll be the start of something new in people's life, you know? So hopefully people who came to Friendsgiving, they come back on Sunday and, you know, we continue to get plugged into a life group. They start serving and, you know, start making changes in their life that the Holy Spirit is trying to do in their life. So,
yeah. I think
awesome.
One thing about in our prayer for Friendsgiving is it isn't just a moment but it's like a catapult to a really fruitful, full life with the Lord. So yeah, sounds like it's been a lot of impactful. It's been impactful for a lot of people. Hopefully it'll continue to be that, as the weekdays and weeks continue. I also think that like one of the things that I was thinking about as you were talking is one of the blessings of Friendsgiving is that the room is way fuller than it normally is. Yeah. But that means that there are, like we said that, can I say the room had 634 people.
Oh yeah, I actually have it pulled up.
Yeah,
right
and which means 634 people heard the gospel. Yeah. Like that's the goal.
Yeah.
And several people made decisions for that, but also 634 people, no two people are alike. Like, and so we talked a lot about, or specifically Brenda said that part of her vision for what the young adult ministry would become is just a really diverse group of people. And you did have the lady in the front who was dancing, and you also had people who were bowing in the back, and you had people who were like a little timid to raise their hands, and some who had no problem getting out there and jumping. Yeah. You saw like a bunch of different varieties of worship, and they're all fragrant to the Lord. You know, and I think that that's such a beautiful thing that you don't get to see at every church that you go to, but the Lord has blessed celebration with a diverse group of people, and even more so, I think, at the BLOC. Like just a diverse group of people who ultimately just want to love the Lord together and do life together. And that's the goal. And if that's something that you're interested in, like the BLOC is a good place for that. If you enjoyed Friendsgiving and you aren't, like, it isn't something that you have participated in before regularly, like, come back. Because ultimately, like, what we want to do is be a picture of what heaven will be like. And I think Friendsgiving was a taste.
Absolutely. I even think about somebody afterwards, somebody put on Instagram, like they took a picture of everybody worshiping, and they put like depression and strongholds and just a bunch of different things, and she basically was saying how like everybody in the room is like in a different place in their life and their spiritual maturity, but like we all unify together under the umbrella of worshiping Jesus together. And so when I saw that on Instagram, I was just thankful, because like that's what we wanted to communicate. Like that was the whole part of us doing the banquet, if you will. You know, if you were there, you know what I'm talking about. So that like people who know Jesus, who don't know Jesus, who's struggling and they walk with the Lord, who walked away from the faith and just came back for a good time, could experience what it was like again to be amongst believers they age who wanted to go for the Lord, and like we do that every week.
Yeah,
you know,
right,
like it's not exclusive to Friendsgiving. Because every Sunday you come to the BLOC, you're going to see people who are in different walks of life, different places in their spiritual maturity, but still, like, we all in it together.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's what makes our ministry so special, is that nobody is nobody's so proud that we can't turn around and pick somebody up and walk with somebody, you know, through whatever it is life is throwing at them, because we all, at the end of the day, we all need Jesus together. Yeah.
Someone walked in talking about it being the banquet. What did you say? What was your title of the sermon last time?
A feast for the forgiven.
A feast for the forgiven. Like a grand banquet is what Matthew, the tax collector, become disciple, said that he was throwing once Jesus called him to be his disciple. So we had a little faux pas right at the beginning. Darius had told before the doors opened, Darius told all the leaders, don't open the dours until the servers are ready to serve dinner. Yeah. Because that's the first thing. Well, that didn't happen.
No, it didn't.
So
I'm standing on the stage, opened the door, and a wave of people coming. I'm like, we are not ready.
Yeah. Shut the doors. But one of those people that came in, her name was Haley. And
Haley, do you know Haley's last name?
I want to say Perkins, but there's no.
She was at the office today.
Oh,
yeah.
She's friends with Emily.
Yeah, she was at the office today.
So she came in, and she's in Yasmin's life group. And Yasmin was like, me and Yasmin, we weren't like talking to each other, but we were standing pretty close to each other. And she looks up, her eyes get so wide, a big smile spreads on her face, and she looks at Yasmin and she says, talk about a banquet. And I was like, like that's the goal. That's awesome. And that's what we had. But anyways, tell us some more of the stats for Friendsgiving.
We had 154 recorded first-time guests. All of these numbers are like recorded. If the people don't record it, then we just don't know. Yeah. But when they do, we do. We had 154 first-time guests,
which is awesome.
54 returners, meaning people who like haven't been in a while and they came back because it was Friendsgiving. We had 12 baptism requests, so 12 people wanted to like go public about their faith, and 22 people want to join a life group, which I think is
that's
good.
Great. Yeah.
16 people requested to join a serve team. And we had 20 people make a profession of faith.
That's phenomenal.
That's
great.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And 6 people recommitted their life to Jesus. And then 6 people just recorded their need of prayer. And then we had 2 baptisms that night. We talked about that already. But again, like these numbers are just the ones that were recorded. You know, like we don't know how many people decided they were going to recommit their life to Jesus that night and just they recorded, or like later on in the week after they reflected on it. You know, like you just don't know what God is doing in the hearts of people. But I think it was easily our best Friendsgiving. But like I think that we put more into it. I think we put more prayer into it.
Yeah,
we put more fasting into it. We put more intentionality on what we wanted to see God do in the service portion of what we were doing, like the worship and the message and the call to the altar call and stuff like that. So I don't know, it was just good. Like I think it's the first Friendsgiving. I was excited about what next week gonna look like. Like I don't really know what next week gonna look like.
Well, what's your vision? Tell us.
800. No, I don't know. I think you're
talking about number wise?
No, I'm not. What I'm talking about is like, I think the people who are gonna come back next week are gonna come back because they want that same experience and encounter with Jesus and the people that they were worshiping with. And so I'm excited because I know the people who are gonna be in the room are gonna be there for that reason. And I think that with that mindset together, bruh, I think this Sunday can be even more powerful than the last Sunday, just because everybody coming with it on their mind to worship. Like, we ain't gonna have a bunch of fun games and all that stuff until after service, but
there will be games.
There will be game stuff. You know, we always like to have a good time.
And an opportunity to win more of those prizes.
Yeah, we're gonna do.
But that's not why you're here.
Right. I mean, but again, like I think Friendsgiving showed us that like you can come for that. Like that's fine. You know, like they fellowship together. Acts 2:42. They fellowship. They broke bread. All the things. We're gonna do all that again. But I guess my prayer then is that people would just come back hungry to experience and encounter God again with the brothers and sisters of the faith. Like no matter what level of maturity you on, like if you felt like you had a place here, no matter where you are, you still have a place. You will always have a place in God's kingdom. In fact, that's what I'm preaching about on Sunday. That no matter what you've done, no matter how far you wandered, when you return home, you still a son and daughter. Praise the Lord.
Praise Him.
And He gonna get us together, all of us together. And so I'm excited about it.
Tell us a little bit more. So this week you're talking about the wanderer. Is that what it's called?
The runaways.
The runaways. Those who have known Jesus and then run away for some reason or another and need to get back. The prodigal son. I didn't know if you wanted me to say that.
Yeah. No, the prodigal son is like he asked his father for his inheritance and was like, I'm leaving. I'm going to do my own thing. Long story short, he ends up sleeping with the pigs in the pig pen. And he was like, one day he came to his senses. He was like, I'm sitting in this pig pen and my dad has a palace. He got servants. Yeah. You know, my dad got servants. I can, at bare minimum, I can go back home and be a servant.
Right.
You know, and he goes back home and then his dad receives him as a son. That was a party for him like he's a son. And he never spent one day as a servant of his father because he's a son, you know? And so I think that's just a powerful story in general. But especially for people who wandered away from the Lord and need to be reminded that the Lord is still waiting with open arms for them to reclaim their inheritance that they have in Him.
That's good.
Excited about it.
Tell us more about like just the series that you're diving into. Like this is the start of.
Yeah, sure. I get my idea in this series was just to talk about.
Well, what's the title?
Oh, Jesus and blank, basically. But the blank will be filled in with different things every week. Like this one is Jesus and the runaways. Or again, reminding people that you can always come back home to Jesus, like no matter what you've done or how long you've been away from Him.
Yeah.
The following Sunday will be Jesus and relationships. And so we'll focus on friendships, just so we are aware. Because I want to give people the opportunity to connect with other people in the ministry if they're new. So you're going to get an opportunity to do that night. And then the following one is Jesus and politics, I think.
Crazy.
Yeah. And so my idea in this series was just to talk about things that were of interest to people so that we can have a biblical perspective on things that matter to us in our time and culture. Like politics matter to us, our relationships matter to us, our relationship with Jesus and coming back to him should matter to us, does matter to us, especially if we're returners. And so, yeah, I mean, there's more along the list. I can't think about the rest of the series off the top of my head, even though like you're like the fourth person who asked me what December is going to be like. And I was like, I don't remember what I wrote down for December. Huh? Addictions. Yes. Jesus and addiction. So we're going to talk about what does the gospel have to do with addiction and how the gospel sets us free.
Yeah.
The incarnation, right? Because we'll be around Christmas in that time. And
Emmanuel.
So talking about Jesus and why that matters to us. And then we'll cap off the year with something fun. I won't spoil it.
Oh, okay. I think those sound really good. Like I'm interested in the series. I think it sounds like for the church people, sounds like, all right, so we're talking to sinners this month. And we are. But also know that like you may not have completely abandoned God, but maybe in some ways of your life you've run away from his truth a little bit. And so whether or not you would consider yourself a prodigal, consider in this series ways in which you have been, whatever the topic is. Absolutely. I remember when we were in college, we were a part of the BCM, and they had it was a topic. The topic of addiction had come up. And I remember this man there had talked about how he was addicted to sugar. And I was like, this is silly. But also like I'm addicted to caffeine. Like, right?
Yeah,
like,
let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Because once you start getting a headache because you haven't had coffee, you have a problem. Yes, Mina, you too. Mina catch a stray. She in the other room.
Right. But I would say like for those of you who, I know for me, like I'm not a prodigal. Like I have never run away from my father's house, and praise God for his mercy in my life that has kept me, and his grace that has kept me. But like there are parts of my life, and maybe in other seasons more true than in others, you know. But there are certainly aspects in my life where I'm like more or less willing to hear what God has to say about a particular matter. And so I'm like, I don't really like what he's saying to me about that, so I'm just gonna kind of act like I didn't hear. It's given Jonah, you know. But like, or for addiction, I mentioned sugar and caffeine, but like those are like small examples. They're not small, but they're examples that you might not consider. But like if you are somebody who is like, well, it's just me and Jesus, like there is no Jesus and something else, I would encourage you to be reflective in your own life, like prayerfully reflective, and consider how this topic may impact you more than you think it might on the surface.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that. Let's talk about it.
Okay.
Because
I'm scared. I didn't know.
Don't be scared. Because here's what, on one level, like this isn't a series just for the lost people. It's also a series for believers, because I think even believers need to be reminded of how we are called as believers to navigate our political landfill that we live in, right? And so like whether you're a new believer or an old believer, that's always a fresh and good reminder, especially when things get tensions and blah, 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 just to be reminded of where our allegiance lies first and how we are to navigate that in our country. So like, it's not just for unbelievers, but if it were for unbelievers, I think that it's very important that we never be dismissive of any biblical sermon. Sure. No matter where you are in your spiritual maturity, because the moment you say, oh, that's not for me, that's for them, you start to inch towards being a Pharisee, because that was their whole thing. Yeah. Like, I know the whole law, but like this for them, not for us. we upright, we righteous. You know, we don't need to hear about addiction. Yeah, but it's like you might not be, to your point, you may not be running to drugs, but like there may be some things that you're addicted to that you keep running to rather than running to Jesus. And it may not have the same consequences as alcohol and marijuana, those things, but you still stuck in the same place, just like somebody who is in experience, dealing with alcoholism, right? And so like we all need truth, no matter what truth it is. And so like to your point again, like be humble. For all of us, be humble, be receptive of God's word and always be hungry, because the Lord's word always feeds his people.
Absolutely.
His word doesn't return void.
Absolutely.
And so I think this is a series for everybody. Because like, even if you aren't a wanderer, like if you think about the prodigal son and the fact that the father received him even after he took all his inheritance and left and ended up in the pig pen, like you may not have made it to the pig pen yet, but like it's good for you to be reminded, no matter what you've done, he still considers you a son and daughter, because you still not perfect. It's because you ain't ended up in the pig pen. Like you don't stink like the person who just came in from the world, but like you still need Jesus to clean you up in some areas of your life, And so I think that's important for all of us to remember. I think it's going to be a good series. I think it's going to be very insightful for all of us, even for myself. I'm excited to study the different topics as we make our way through it. But I think that God's going to do something great in our midst.
I think just to add to that conversation, like it doesn't really matter what sermon series you're in. There is something, I think sometimes as a mature Christian or somebody who just like has been around the word for a long time, you're like, yeah, I've heard this. I know it. But it's important to like listen anyways. Like you were saying, it'll make you a Pharisee if you say it's for them. But I also think just in general, like don't think that you are ahead of what they're talking about. Like for instance, there's a variety, we talked about today already, a variety of people in different stages of their walk with Christ, in different stages of their life at the BLOC every Sunday. Sure. And so as the pastor, you have to hit both extremes of that.
I had like this conversation like 4 or 5 times this week since Friendsgiving.
Well, you want to go ahead and tell the people what you thought?
No, go ahead.
But so it is difficult, right? Like that is not an easy task to keep both the person who knows very little and the person who knows, like the theologian, like to keep them both engaged. But if you are somebody, if there is a point or there's a sermon that hits more towards a particular audience, particularly or especially one that's like more like general or more like this is basic, you, as a believer, as a mature believer, there's still something in it for you. Yeah. That truth still applies to you. And maybe you should lean into it just as much as they should, or do, because like the truth is eternal. Like, and so you should know that, and be a part of that. But I do think like be humble about it. But I don't think that this series will be, just for newcomers.
Sure. Yeah.
But I do think that like sometimes if you are talking about those type of topics, you're like, well, I don't struggle with that, or nobody knows I struggle with that. Yeah. And that's like, if nobody knows about it, confess and be healed. Like,
when I was growing up in church, my pastor ended every message the exact same way. He died on Friday, and on the third day he got up with all power. Like literally.
He shook that all?
No, yes. It was like more. It was more enthusiastic than that. If you've been to a black church, you know how it is at the end. But I remember, like, as I was growing up in church, like when he got to the end, I would be like, all right, I'd like close my Bible and be like, all right,
I know this part.
This for everybody else who haven't accepted Jesus yet. And I remember one day being so convicted about that, because I think that's a very dangerous and bad habit, and I feel like at that point I got to a place where like I had just become so nonchalant about the gospel, like as though because I understood it and I accepted it, it had lost its power and effect on me. And that's just not true. Like the fact that Jesus died on the cross and he rose on the third day, like that is the foundation of our faith, and if you're a believer and you listen to this and you've gotten away from that, then the gospel has not lost its power. You lost touch with the power of the gospel.
Oh, that's good.
And that is a very dangerous place to be, And we talked about this in life group a few weeks ago, just how important it is for us to always be consecrating ourselves so our hearts are tender enough to receive from the Lord and be sensitive to his spirit and the leading thereof. And so like if you're listening to this and you like have a tendency to check out when the gospel is being shared, because it, or you kind of check out of this series at your church because, well, everything it is about the series that they're going through. I would just encourage you to consecrate yourself before the Lord.
Yeah.
And ask the Lord to, soften your heart again and teach you things you don't know about scripture, because as much as you know it, there's so much that you just don't, that you only realize from just having a humble heart and just consecrating yourself before the Lord, so that your heart doesn't miss what your head already knows. And I think that's important.
Yeah. As you were talking, I thought of a funny story. I don't know if it's that funny, but I laughed.
You better make us laugh.
It's not that funny. Okay, dang. But I was listening to this podcast today. Remember my favorite podcast, Perfect Person. And they were talking, somebody called in with a problem. And their problem was that they were a barista and they had like treated somebody one time to a free coffee who like works is not also a barista, but like works in the same strip as them. And now they like they just don't even go to like the paying counter. They just go to the counter where like you pick up your drink, and she's like basically just expecting something. And I think sometimes we come to church as like mature believers thinking we can just show up at the pickup line because we know the answer. And like, but sometimes his solution to the problem, because in Perfect Person, they at the end of it like offer a solution to whatever the problem is. Sometimes they're silly, sometimes they're not. But like the solution was have somebody be like, hey, like he can have you up there. What I'm getting at is that, so I think that's how we come to church sometimes. We're like, oh, well, I know what the sermon is, so like let me just like get the notes real quick. I can fill it out. Like if he missed point 3, who cares? Because I got it. But like that's
they care.
Yeah, they do care. But the point is that like we need to go to church like expecting to be met with somebody, like not just met with the product of his sermon, but met with Jesus, who's already paid the price for us, who's already given us the truth. But like we have to come with the expectation, not that it'll just be like handed to us or that we'll already know it, but that like if we show up at this place, we don't deserve his grace, but it's fresh every time. And so like he has paid for it. He has given us the product of the cross, which is our salvation. But ultimately, like we have to be humble enough to go to come into church, get the notes, to listen, and to glean truth from it. Like no matter where you're at, like eat the meat, spit out the bones. But anyways, what are your thoughts?
I was about to read this passage.
Okay, go ahead.
This is... Yes,
also note, not a single laugh.
Oh, I forgot I was supposed to.
I'm just kidding. I had to put that in there so I could get one.
Yeah, you got it. All right.
Thank you.
We all laughing at it. I literally forgot that was supposed to be a joke. Anyway, love you so much. Colossians 1:21. Once you were alienated and hostile in your minds, as expressed in your evil actions. But now he has reconciled you by his physical body through his death to present you holy, to present you faultless, and to present you blameless before him. If indeed you remain grounded and steadfast in the faith and are not shifted away from the hope of the gospel that you heard. The gospel has been proclaimed in all creation under heaven, and I, Paul, have become a servant of it. Remain grounded, remain steadfast in the faith. Don't give up on hope in Jesus, and you will become holy, flawless, and blameless before him.
That's good.
Praise the Lamb.
Praise the Lamb.
All right. Oh, are you going to...
the evangelism and worship night?
When is that?
Friday.
This Friday?
This Friday.
So like tomorrow?
If we post this on Thursday, then it will be tomorrow.
Yeah, so evangelism will start at 6:30. And then at 6. And then it starts at 6, and then we will worship at 7:30. Worship starts at 7:30. We'll probably worship for an hour or so. Get some beignets,
what a God.
Lattes, coffee. It'll be a vibe. It's not too cold.
And we will
anymore.
see salvation
in Jesus' name.
In Jesus' name, heaven will rejoice with us.
And then we'll be back on Sunday.
Back on Sunday.
It'll be fun
for our Jesus and series, and then bingo following.
Bingo. iPad, $250 gift card to Fleming's.
Let me lock in and get me a date night.
Yeah, for real. We playing this time. All right, love y'all.